So we'll do a little bit of the stuff. We'll actually. So I thought every month now what we would do is we'd add the Pradipika. We do something from the Pradipika every month as well. So one of the reasons that inspired me to do this, was, I think it's important that every yoga studio be a community, and that the idea that in the yogic tradition, one of the paths to a transcendental state is through what's called sangha, which is the community of like-minded individuals. So if you're in a room full of 30 people that all want to evolve, there's a lot better chance that you will, as opposed to being in a room full of 30 heroin addicts. Chances are it's going to look pretty seductive, or you're going to run out, with your hair on fire. Oops. I gave myself away. I
got out just in time.
We got a few threads left. So one was, this idea of community and sangha. The other is that there's this, sort of underlining undercurrent or misnomer that yoga is what you learn in all of these studios, and it's not too much more than that, when in fact, this is one of the small steps on the path to a much more glorified existence, and only seen as a fairly preliminary step, the practice of asana. So the idea of extending it both into the practices of, diet, breath, right morality, how you do your practice, how you inhabit the space you inhabit in the world. Hi guys. We'll close the door after you guys so you can sit in the door jam there. You want to just pull it closed, David? Move whatever you need out of the way. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, got it? So, and it's just, so this was originally conceived both for Sangha, for all of us to, be exposed to the other aspects. The sutras expose us to basically the step-by-step guide to nirvana, to liberation, to samadhi. The Pradipika tells us the things we need to do on those steps to cleanse, to purify, to rebuild, the practices on a daily basis, the more practical elements of that. How to sleep, how to move through the world, what to eat, what not to eat, why you eat it, why you don't eat it, a slew of other things. Breath, it talks. I think there's only maybe 20 asanas in the Pradipika, but then there's probably a dozen breath practices. There's cleansing practices that haven't become real popular in this country, like swallowing a thread and pulling it back up again, or putting it in and taking out the other end and going like this.
And then what about stretching your ears? Or was it the ears? So they could fit over something.
Oh, no.
You're supposed to put a pinhole. Oh, your tongue.
No, what you do is there's, and I actually, when I was much younger,
touch your third eye.
When I was much younger, I was thinking about him today. I was thinking, we all end up in whatever world. I never planned to become a yoga teacher. My other occupation died, or I failed at it miserably, one or the other. And my yoga teacher at the time needed a sub, and he asked me to sub for him, and there were yoga teachers in the class, and they all went back to their studios and said, I just took a great class, and I had 3 classes. I was at 3 yoga studios within 3 weeks. Now, that was before there were 3 million yoga teachers in town. But, so all of a sudden, I had a new profession. I thought, wow, and then I remember this guy who used to stay with us. He was a 90-year-old yogi, and he wanted to teach me how to walk on water. I mean, these practices are in here. They don't tell you exactly how to do them, but they say, if you do this, and if you can figure out what he means by this, you'd be able to do it, but they don't tell you all that stuff. But one of the practices was that he was really anxious for me to do is, every day you slit the connecting thing between your tongue and your palate with a piece of paper. You do a little teeny paper burn. I know, it sounds horrible, right? And every day you do it a little bit, and eventually you disconnect the tongue. And then what you do is you practice and you turn the tongue in and up behind the roof of your mouth, and you stimulate an area in there that releases what's called, don't look like that, it's not in your mouth, it's not going to happen. No one's going to have to do that today. It's not going to happen in this class. Next month, maybe we'll, you know.
Baby steps.
Yeah, maybe we'll do the colonics with gourds and swallowing the stuff. Nah, I don't think so. I'll just introduce them to you. If you get kind of weird and kinky in that way, go off, don't tell us about it. So anyways, but the idea was you go up and you actually stimulate this center, and indirectly it's the pineal gland, and it releases amrita, which means divine nectar, and then that divine nectar stimulates you having visions and having, generating more energy in your brain center to pull the energy up into your head so that you can have these, enlightened kundalini nirvana kind of experiences. So, but we're probably not going to get to that tonight. And so anyways, I thought it was interesting. This guy used to come from India and stay with us, and I'd forgotten completely about him. And he wanted to teach. You can go underwater and not breathe for hours at a time, and there's tons of practices, and we never got into them. But I thought it was weird that of all the people in the world, he came and stayed with us. And so so that's
Who was he?
Huh?
Who was he?
He's not known.
And who was he that he stayed with?
Oh.
You and your family? Or?
Yeah, he stayed with me and my family. He's a 90-year-old
Before
guy.
you even had an inkling that you were ever be a yoga teacher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always sort of been kindred to yoga, so that was, I've always sort of had that headset. And I was asked to teach meditation at San Francisco County Jail. And when I was asked to do that, they asked if I could teach yoga too. So I looked at a few books and I started teaching yoga and meditation at San Francisco County Jail. Probably 37 years ago. And of course, San Francisco County Jail, the people that used to come to my yoga and things like that day, San Francisco County Jail was filled with potheads and acid heads, so they were really happy to come to the yoga and meditation class. I was like, oh man, we get to get stoned on the inside. It's cool. All right, so, right? Okay, so why don't we start with the Pradipika exercise, huh? And I'm going to read to you from it first. I'm going to read two of the verses. The first one is going to be the introduction to Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, which is called alternate nostril breathing. And actually, I'm going to give you the introduction to it. And I'm only going to read a little bit. But the first pranayama practice is Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, which activates and harmonizes Ida and Pingala nadis. So Ida and Pingala are, you all know the caduceus from the medical symbol of the two snakes. So the spine is broken up on the two sides. It has the central chamber, which is called the sushumna, and then you have the Ida and the Pingala, the male and the female, and they wrap. Okay, so this says they are the primary channels of the nadis, and then out from those flow the 73,000. Some books say 73,000, some say 350,000 nerve channels. I haven't ever counted them. I can't tell you for sure. Nor have I ever felt that many.
I have.
You have. That's why you're sitting up front with me. I'm going to get a contact high. Okay, where was I? The first pranayama practice is Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, which activates and harmonizes Ida and Pingala nadis. Shodhana means to purify. In English, this practice is called Nadi Purification Pranayama. If you have never done pranayama before, in order to learn and practice it correctly, it is essential that you become fully acquainted with the natural breathing process first. This can be done by practicing the following technique. We're going to assume that you've all been taking yoga, and we're not going to do that. And I'm not going to introduce all the techniques, just the one I'm going to take you through. But I'm going to read a little bit here. So here's what it says about doing Nadi Shodhana. When the prana is inhaled through the left nostril, then it must be exhaled through the other. When it is inhaled through the right, hold it inside and then exhale through the other nostril. This yamini, the yamini, which is the practitioner, who practices in this way through the right and left nostril, alternately purifies all his nadis within 3 months. Okay? So all 73,000 will be purified if you just do this practice. I was thinking it might be nice if those of us at the end of the class who know that they might be coming next month, is for us to make a commitment that for 1 month, between now and then, we all practice it at least once a day for 5 minutes. I'm willing to commit. You guys can decide after you've done it. And we see it's actually, and it's hard to tell, when change happens, because it happens so slow, right? But I was doing this practice. I have 2 women I talk to regularly, sort of a mastermind group. They're up in Seattle, and we have this incredible relationship. And one of them suggested this thing where it's a funny form of an affirmation, and you say the same thing over and over very quickly, right? And I was working on a series of workshops I'm doing called The Quickening, and to learn more about what the workshop might be, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to do I'm quickening, I'm quickening, I'm quickening, 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 I'm quickening. And I did it for like 2 weeks, and I did it every time I walked, and I hike a lot, and I do it for the whole hour and a half of a hike. I mean, literally the whole time. Sometimes I do it, and sometimes it would come into my head when I was driving. And 2 weeks later, we're on the phone together, and I did it for a week, solid. 2 weeks later, we're on the phone together, and they said to me, and I was telling them all that had happened, and they said, oh my God, because everything had quickened in my life. I was like, and I didn't notice it, and we don't lots of times. I mean, you practice yoga for a long time, the change is sort of invisible, and then one day you just go, oh my God, I'm totally different. I don't get reactivated that easy. I don't get angry that easy. I'm sleeping better, whatever it is, So I thought if we do it for a month and we report back, maybe we can all have some reflection on that. Okay? So I'll read a little bit more and then we'll do the practice. An important factor has been omitted. Okay, let's see. So after inhalation, the breath is retained and then exhaled through the opposite nostril. Then you inhale through the same nostril through which you exhale. After a few weeks of practice, it becomes a rhythmic pattern and there will be no confusion. An important factor has been omitted in this verse, and that is the correct ratio for inhale, retention, exhalation. It is not sufficient to practice pranayama just by breathing in and out. The length of each breath must be counted. Start cautiously with the ratio 1 to 1 to 1. Even if you are capable of retaining the breath for longer. After a week or more, you can increase the ratio to 1 to 2 to 2. So that would look like, for me, what I usually do is I count to 10 on an inhale, I hold the breath for 10, and then I exhale for 10, and I hold it out for 10. For most, we'll start tonight at 6, 6, 6, which is a 1 to 1 to 1 ratio. And you might find holding it out on the exhale a little more challenging. And what I'm just going to ask you to do is just try to stay relaxed through it. 6 is not that long, because you don't want to go into any kind of contraction or survival mode because you're holding your out. But it's not that long to do it. And
we can start just no retention first. I think usually starts.
yeah, well, this is simple enough that we can do it this way. Okay, and. So, and just one more thing, and I'm not going to go into any more of this. One of the things that you can do after you've established the rhythm that's suggested as part of the way that we cleanse the nadis is you add mantra to it. So you could do it, and I've practiced it this way, where you take a mantra, whatever your mantra is, and you could actually, like I do. Let's say I do Om Namah Shivaya. So it would be Om. Internally I would say Om Namah Shivaya, whatever the rate was. And I'd use that, or I'd say it twice through there for the inhale. I'd say it twice on the internally while I'm holding it in twice. So that actually sort of gives a flavor to the cleansing process as well. And then and this will be later in the sutras when we talk about mantra, probably 10 months from now. But this idea that since everything on the planet is vibrating, and Om being the ultimate vibration that's the sound of the whole universe, the pure, the divine self, then each one of the mantras was sort of given as what in modern day we might all think of as a homeopathic remedy. So each mantra is specifically designed for specific character traits, a nerve disorder, digestion. I mean, some of them as gross as digestion issues, some as subtle as, let's say, being scattering. Some as subtle as having certain fixations or whatever it is. And, I have no idea what those are. But the ones that have made it into the public are kind of, the generally safe ones that all are basically chanting a name of God. And if you know what that, like Shiva is considered, has many things, but let's say the destroyer. So if you're doing Om Namah Shivaya, you're sort of giving it up to the fire to burn. And so in the future, maybe if we continue this practice, and because we're going to add other pranayamas, and every month I'll read something simple from the Pradipika, and some of them, we'll get into some of the other practical elements that have to do with the practice. And if you all have questions as we continue this over the next few months, specifically, for example, one of the things that's suggested strongly in yoga, in the beginning of the yoga practice, is that you don't eat foods that are stimulating, because they tend to get your mind overactive. So it's highly suggested that you don't eat onions or garlic. And, now there are other places where, for example, if you're on a cleansing diet, garlic might be the best thing to eat, but it's such a stimulant to what the yogis believe to be the desire body, that it actually keeps you in a desired state, in a state of desire. And as we read tonight, that may not be the best thing if you're looking for non-attachment, to be actually activating your desire body. So some of those, so if you have questions in the course of your practice, it's something we can all address, and maybe, I can do the research, and Allison's good at doing research too. She found some of the things for me. So,
that's one challenge we're taking for 3 months.
Wait, no. You mean the Nadi Shodhana? No. None of this stuff, I just thought, I thought, wow, man, it says that if you do this for 3 months, you'll purify all your nadis. Now, I don't know if that means, 24 hours a day or for 8 hours at a stretch. I mean, I don't know, But I can tell you when I've done any of these practices regularly over time, I've felt an enormous difference.
So what is the benefit of clearing all your nadis?
Well, it would be no different than having a clean colon for your physical body. So, for example, ADD may be nothing other than trauma in your nervous system, right? Maybe certain kind of electrochemical reactivity with your synapses, let's say. So they're firing double all the time. So if you're cleansing your nadis, you're purifying your nerve body. If you don't sleep well, for example, you're purifying your nadis if you have insomnia. Sounds like a really good idea. If you have, in Oriental medicine, the idea that in the acupuncture meridians is that if one body part is overly active, it's either drawing energy off of a different body part, which means it's draining and weakening it, or it's shoving too much energy and blocking the one in front of it and creating a lack of flow there. So what tends to happen when you go to see an acupuncturist is they don't usually work necessarily with the body part that's blocked. They either look at pulling energy off from that by activating the one in front of it and getting it flowing. There's a thing called the Venturi vacuum. Do you know what that is? If one river is flowing into another, if there's a really big river here and a small river comes into it, if a small river is going really fast and comes into the big river, it literally works as it hits the big river, it pulls the water in the big river, and it actually makes the whole river upstream of that, even though we think of water as liquid, function like a solid, and it pulls it after it. So if you're running extra energy down one of these channels, you actually pull the energy off the other one and you kind of jump start it. And the other thing that they would do in acupuncture is they'd activate the one behind it that may be starving, you know, the other body part. So, you know, and that's to be decided by, you know, your pulses and, you know, a whole slew of, you know, reading the face and body things and how, you know, sweat thing, you know, all the stuff that they would read. So that would be the benefit of purifying your nadis. And frankly, from where I sit at this point in my life, to me, one of the highest states on a regular basis is to be balanced, right? Because if you're balanced in your daily life, in your diet, in your mental body, in your emotional body, then you're not generating a lot of drama. You're not generating a lot of friction. You're not putting a lot of extra wear and tear on your emotional body or your brain or your physical body, whatever. So purifying the nadis is one of those things that I think really kind of puts like a low hum underneath everything rather than some form of erratic or blocked up energy. You can remind me, I can give shorter answers. And, you know, especially if I'm just making this stuff up. I actually practiced Oriental medicine in my 20s, so I have some clue of what I'm talking about.
But you don't remember that so long ago.
I know. Well, that's why I couldn't tell you exactly how you do it, and, you know, the wood, metal, water, earth, you know, all the elements and stuff. Okay, so shall we, everybody sit up comfortable. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to bend over your first two fingers, and we're going to cover of your left hand, right hand, sorry about that, and you're going to cover your right nostril with your thumb, and I'll instruct you, you know, and I'll lead us through 2 full cycles. We're going to do 6 on the inhale, we'll hold it for a count of 6, we'll do 6 on the exhale, we'll hold it out for 6, and then we'll inhale. So it'll be inhale through the left for 6, hold. Exhale through the right for 6, hold it out. Inhale back through the right, hold it in. Exhale through the left, hold it out. Okay? You don't have to remember any
Do
of
you
that.
cover when you're holding it in? I usually do.
I don't, but only if you. But it's good to do that. It's good.
Okay.
It's fine to cover, but you know you want the energy to stay in.
Okay.
Okay. So we're over.
Wait, so when you switch the other nostril, do you use this finger to hold it?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, so you just go,
This is what you do.
Oh, okay.
No.
Got it.
Anyone ever let me into their club? You can. The other thing you can do is you can actually. Yeah. You can either touch gently. I like to do it with my. I like to do it with my fingers. Okay. All right. So Jonathan, would you pull the lights down just halfway? All right. So we're going to use our right hand. We're going to cover the right nostril, and everybody cover your right nostril, and inhale through your left for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cover. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale right. Hold. Exhale left. Hold. Inhale left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale right. Hold. Exhale left. So now you can extend it or shorten it, whatever you want to do. And we're going to go for 4 minutes. finish on your next left exhalation. When you do, just sit up tall and just observe the breath. Observe how you find yourself. Observe your energy. Observe your emotional body. If you feel a centeredness, a balance. Your mental body, or your thoughts more centered or a bit scattered. How about your energy, your astral body? Just take another moment here and feel the energy in the room, the collective energy. We've all been sharing the same vital life force, the same air, the same prana. We've been exchanging it, so we're actually literally all part of the same body now. We're all one. Feel the unification, the commonality. It's so easy for each one of us to get caught up in our personal story, in our limited life. And the truth is, we all came here pretty much for the same reason, to learn, to expand, to evolve. And so we're really with common souls, and there's something that happens when we practice with others. And that is, the body of the collective holds us up. We do our best. Everybody else shows up committed to their practice. And together, an energy is created that lifts each of us beyond the sum of the parts. So let's, because we're going to speak about it a lot tonight, let's just finish this practice with one collective Om, knowing that intoning the Om brings us all into contact with the true self, the one spirit. So take a nice big inhale and all together.